The most terrific fire and fury you've ever seen. The Evan Vucci app images. As those of you who keep up with the president's Twitter feed know, Donald Trump not only believes that he alone, by virtue of his Titian presence in the White House, has pushed the markets to record highs, but that he doesn't receive enough credit for doing so. When he's not tweeting about fake news, or Jeff Sessions, or plastic surgery procedures, or how he never watches TV, despite seemingly responding, in real time, to TV, he's informing his followers that they have him to thank for stock market gains. By our count, he's credited himself at least 7 times in the last 3 weeks alone, tweeting, "Stock market hit another all-time high yesterday despite the Russian hoax story on July 15, just got to the US Women's Open in Bedminster, New Jersey. People are really happy with record high stock market up over 17% since election later that day, and business is looking better than ever with business enthusiasm at record levels. Stock market at an all-time high." That doesn't just happen on August 3rd, there was also this memorable tweet on July 31st, the day he axed 10-day-old White House comms director Anthony Scaramucci's Twitter.com rail Donald Trump status 891998810090618888. Strangely, though, Trump had nothing to say about the stock market on Tuesday, when the Dow Jones Industrial Average broke its winning streak around noon, sliding further amid his comments that North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States, unless the Hermit Kingdom wants to be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen. Gold ETFs and weapons manufacturers saw a small, but noticeable, bump. In related news, investment manager Jeffrey Gundlach, who was one of the few people to predict Trump would win the election, predicted Tuesday that the S&P 500 will fall by at least 3% by the end of the year and told CNBC that market gains have virtually nothing to do with Trump. "The current president is getting virtually nothing done," Gundlach said. He's very noisy about it. The nothing getting done is the consistent theme. The market's been going up with nothing getting done. So I don't think the president's performance has much to do with where the stock market valuation is today. Obviously, these comments will not be making the folder full of positive news about himself that Trump has reportedly received twice daily since moving into the West Wing. House Dems want information about how much federal money is being paid to Trump's businesses. When Donald Trump became president, in order to avoid conflicts of interest, he turned over the management of the Trump Organization to his 2 adult sons. This might have meant something if Trump hadn't retained his stake in the business instead of divesting himself, as previous presidents have done, or if, by Eric Trump's admission, Daddy Trump didn't get quarterly updates on how the business is performing, or if, per the Associated Press, he didn't put a clause in the trust containing his business assets that says he can draw down money whenever he wishes, or if he wasn't regularly hosting foreign leaders at the Trump Organization's properties and raving about the baked goods during interviews about missile strikes, or if his frequent weekend getaways to Mar-a-Lago and the Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, didn't mean the Trump Organization was collecting taxpayer money from the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security. But because Donald Trump, all of those things are happening. And House Dems would like a little more clarity as to exactly how much federal money is being paid to the president's business. For the app, Democrats on the House Oversight Committee on Tuesday asked departments to hand over information about their Trump-related spending by August 25. The American people deserve to know how their tax dollars are spent, including the amount of federal funds that are being provided to private businesses owned by the president and the purposes of these expenditures, reads the lawmaker's letter to Elaine Duke, the acting secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. The lawmakers sent similar requests to all cabinet secretaries. Their request seeks documents about any payments the departments made to the Trump Organization or any business in which the Trump Organization has an ownership stake. As reporter Julie Bykovich notes, it's not unusual for presidents to spend time at their personal homes while in office, with Barack Obama visiting his house in Chicago and George W. Bush's Crawford, Texas, ranch being dubbed the Western White House. Of course, the difference here is that Trump's homes are part of his business, so when the Secret Service and other groups are spending money to protect him at these properties, some of the funds are going to the Trump Organization. Last week, the Wall Street Journal reported that following a dispute between the government and the president's business over the terms of a lease for space in Trump Tower that it had been using as a command post, the Secret Service relocated its operation to a trailer on the sidewalk. In related news, the Washington Post reports that in addition to becoming a veritable Republican clubhouse, as well as Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin's home for 6 months, money has poured into the Trump International Hotel in Washington from Republican political committees that have chosen the Trump Hotel as a venue for receptions. The hotel has hosted events for Representative Bill Shuster, Representative Dana Rohrabacher, and 9 other Republican congresspeople. Wall Street is, amazingly, less sexist than Silicon Valley as Google deals with the continuing fallout of the anti-diversity manifesto heard around the world. Axios reports that Wall Street can take some small measure of pride in the fact that, relatively speaking, it's less sexist than the tech industry. Dan Primick, JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon today said in a CNBC interview that he believes that Wall Street is ahead of Silicon Valley in terms of gender equality and HES right based on an Axios analysis of corporate diversity reports for a selection of the country's largest banks and technology companies. America's top banks have higher percentages of female employees than do technology companies, by a 48.4% to 33.2% margin. Still not much to brag about. Both industries still feature few women in leadership positions, with Wall Street eking out a meager 25.5% to 24.8% win over tech. Counterpoint: Wall Street is still pretty terrible. Anders Borg was once an influential Swedish financier who served as a senior advisor to Citigroup and sat on the board of technology investment firm Kinnevik, following 8 years with Sweden's finance ministry. Now, HES, a former Citi advisor and former Kinnevik deputy chairman, following his decision to allegedly get blackout drunk and expose himself to guests at a July party on the Swedish island of Husaro, during an incident wherein he also allegedly threatened guests, groped other men, and called female revelers whores and sluts. In a Facebook post, Borg said that he had been told afterwards that I behaved very inappropriately and apologized to all those who were affected, saying he doesn't usually drink more than most people but had been under a lot of pressure at the time. In a subsequent post, Borg clarified that his apology was about being rude and should not be interpreted as a recognition of crime, stressing, "I haven't done anything criminal." Rumors, hearsay and excesses in the third place should not serve as a basis for speculation about accusations. According to the Financial Times, Swedish police have opened an investigation into Borg for sexual harassment, affront, and unlawful threats. If Jamie Dimon is hard on America, it's because he loves it so much. Last month, during a pair of conference calls with analysts and the media to discuss second quarter earnings, JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon got a number of things off of his chest, including his embarrassment, when traveling the world, at having to admit to people that, yes, HES American. Dimon said HES sick of all the stupid SHT we have to deal with in this country, like bureaucracy, litigiousness, and a tax system that needs to be reformed. And apparently, his feelings haven't changed over the course of the last 3 weeks, though he would like to make it clear that he still loves America, more than you'll ever know, despite being disappointed in it. In an interview with CNBC on Tuesday, Dimon told Wilfred Frost that while HES a complete patriot who puts family first, country second, and JP Morgan literally last, and who thinks America is the best country on the planet, a shining city on a hill, America must acknowledge our problems and fix them. "I'm a proud American," Dimon said. "What's embarrassing to me is our inability to get infrastructure done properly. We don't have a competitive tax system here. Our tax system has become less competitive over the last 20 years. Everyone has improved theirs. We simply haven't." To the haters who suggest Dimon is simply out for tax cuts, he told Frost, "We need to start educating people on how important tax reform is for jobs and wages and businesses and small businesses. It's not about big business, it's about our country." At other points in the 20-minute televised interview, which took place at a robotics lab on the south side of Chicago that the banker is funding to create opportunities for underprivileged kids, Dimon mentioned his pride in America, said I'm a patriot before him, the CEO of JP Morgan, and described America as the best country on the planet, all of which Dealbreaker thinks, despite Dimon's protestations, means Dimon is simply narrowing down potential campaign slogans before announcing a 2020 run. Elsewhere, it's full steam ahead on tax reform, with no details. CNBC-U.S. abandons case against financier way after judge slams FBI. Bloomberg: you could buy 100 boxes of avocados for the price of 1 Bitcoin. Bloomberg: Wells Fargo insurance abuses lead to probe by California regulator. Bloomberg: Wells Fargo customer: it felt like my car was held as extortion. CNN Money: Mnuchin sold companies for $15 million to avoid ethics conflicts. CNN Money: amid Trump's immigration crackdown, more Mexicans get visas to work in US. WSJ: bailout costs will be a burden for years. Financial Times: driverless van actually piloted by man dressed as car seat. UPI.